Yo, testing 1 2 1 2, mic check. Yo, what's going on? I'm back because yesterday, I don't know what the hell happened to my internet. It just went out literally in the middle of the live stream. So I was like, you know what? We got to pick up where we left off. I threw a few extra stories in here that we're going to talk about, but we're going to get through this quick because I've been up since like 5:30 doing stuff with everybody all day and I'm tired. So I'm Marcus. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Here we do attorney reactions to current events, trending news. We're going to pick up with the topic that we left off before we were abruptly interrupted due to struggle streaming and technical difficulties. We are talking about a story of a woman who shot her husband in the neck and in the leg. He has to use a walker now, if I'm not mistaken, according to articles. He is a retired Baltimore City police officer. She had a daycare facility that she ran, and her husband worked with her at that daycare facility. And the reason she shot her husband, according to the facts, is because he had allegations of child sexual abuse. She wasn't having it. She went there while he was pulling security at a Washington, D.C. hotel for an event. That was when the actual shooting occurred. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The prosecutors, in light of the facts, because the husband is actually currently serving time, and I think he was charged with several assaults of a minor. He was the bus driver at the camp. So the prosecution, in light of the facts, in light of what the husband had going on, the prosecution agreed to a plea agreement where this lady would just do a 2-year sentence. They went before the judge, and the judge was not happy about that sentence. The judge was like, you know what? 2 years is too light. I don't think that's enough. So the judge implemented a 4-year sentence. Now, this lady is out of custody. She's currently in a halfway house. I believe it's actually in Washington, D.C. Let's go ahead, take a look at let's go ahead and take a look at the article or take a look at the video, and then we are going to talk about it, because all crimes are not created equal. And what should happen in the eyes of the law and what my moral compass is fine with are two separate things. What's going on, Bernie? I appreciate you tuning in. So let's go ahead. We're going to pull up this video and see what has been going on since this daycare owner has been out of custody.
Rick, she was gracious, happy to talk to
the Baltimore County daycare owner who shot her husband when she learned he was sexually abusing children has now been released from prison. She served most of her 4-year sentence, a punishment that outraged supporters who thought the judge was way too harsh.
I don't know. Now, if I'm the judge, I'm taking the plea. What the judge did is something that happens, but it's not very common. I've had probably 2,000 clients as a criminal defense attorney, and I could think on maybe 3 or 4 occasions where the judge declined to take the plea that the prosecutor and I agreed to. It rarely happens, and typically when a judge did decline it, the judge wouldn't implement their own sentence. The judge would just allow us to continue the case and put it in front of another judge who was willing to accept the plea agreement. If a judge does that, it's because they think that the client is getting off easy. Why would a judge do that? Not go with what was agreed upon by the parties? Well, 2 reasons. One reason is absolutely terrible. Some reasons are some judges think that they are the end all and the be all, and if it's not justifiable to them, they aren't going to want to do it. Me, if I were a judge, if the parties agreed to it, that's what we're going to do. The second reason, which I guess makes a little bit more sense, if it's a crime that occurred, judges don't want to enter into a plea that was so light. They don't want to have their name on it, just in case during election season, no judge ever wants someone to be able to say, hey, Judge DFD is light on crime because he allowed this person to only get 2 years for committing this heinous act. So it was probably that was probably the reason why the judge wouldn't accept the 2-year plea. I'm just gonna be honest. Like, well, let's go ahead and finish watching. It's short. Let's finish this video before I finish up the commentary.
Tonight, WJZ investigator Mike Kellgren speaks to Shantira Young from the halfway house she is staying at. And Mike, you are live with the exclusive that everyone has been waiting to see tonight.
Well, Rick, she was gracious, happy to talk to us. That halfway house where she's at right now is in Washington, D.C. She got there on Tuesday and expects to be in some sort of home confinement through December, but is looking forward to eventually rebuilding her life here in Maryland. Shantira Young is almost free after being in custody since July 2022 when she shot her then husband, former Baltimore City police officer James Weems, after confronting him over allegations he'd been abusing children at her daycare, Little Kids Castle in Owings Mills. What do you want people to know?
One of the things I really want to say is I thank everybody for the support that they have given me. It has really helped me get through my prison sentence, and I'm just really thankful for that. I'm glad to be out and at the halfway house, and I'm just looking forward to rebuilding and giving back to the community like I was before.
She testified against her ex-husband, who was convicted of rape and sexual abuse last year and sentenced to life in prison.
I don't know. Like, I get it. She had a failed argument, and they may touch on this. She had a failed argument, a failed self-defense argument, which just didn't fly because she actually wrote a journal entry that I believe she left at the scene and made some statements to persons that kind of showed it wasn't self-defense. So I get that part. The other part that I do get is she did, in fact, commit a crime. I get that. And I get that in that moment, she wasn't necessarily saving the lives of a child because it was a situation where it was just her husband and her. I get all of that, but I don't know. Like, this dude's in prison for life, for the rest of his life, because he was doing everything that they accused him of. Like, I actually read the stories. He was a bus driver for the daycare. Bus drivers are alone with children. If they dropping them off, is absolutely terrible. I'm just saying, no one likes people who commit those crimes. Criminals in jail criminals in prison, hardcore criminals do not even like people who commit those crimes. So I don't know. I'm not saying like couldn't be on her jury. That's all I'm saying. I think most jurors would get it right. Hey, did she in fact commit a crime? Yes, she did. But if I get all of these facts, I might be the one person to hold out. I know it makes no sense, but it makes sense to me in my inner moral compass.
Prosecutors built their case around a 10-year-old girl he abused inside the daycare's van.
The one thing I think that we need to know is that sexual abuse is not okay with children. A lot of times in the past, it has been covered up, and it's good that it's getting some type of notoriety to it so that we can stop it. We can help children and not accept this, especially from somebody who we all thought should have been protecting children and protecting the community at one point.
A judge in D.C., where the shooting occurred, sentenced Young to 4 years in prison, double what prosecutors requested. Terrible. People around the world and here in Maryland expressed outrage at a punishment they believed was too harsh. Did you feel the support? Did you get those messages?
Absolutely. A lot of people wrote to me, and, I was able to contact with a lot of people. I definitely felt the support. And I think the support is what kept me sane in prison.
Anything you want to say to the community and those supporters who love you so much and who stood up for you throughout this?
I would just say thank you so much. I really appreciate each and every one of them. I'm definitely glad that the justice system saw what happened and he was sentenced to what he got, and that everybody can start trying to rebuild and move on.
She says she has hope as far as rebuilding her life. She's not sure when she's getting out of that halfway house, but she is meeting with her agent today or tomorrow, so she should have some more clarity. She is just happy to be out of prison. Reporting live in your corner in Baltimore.
I don't know. I personally would have been completely fine if she didn't get any jail time. I'm just gonna be honest. I would have been completely fine if she didn't get jail time. I think the judge did themselves a disservice. I think the judge should have accepted the plea. That's the whole part of the justice system, is that the prosecutor and the defense counsel and the defendant can agree and come up with an agreed upon plea agreement, and the court generally should enter that plea agreement. This agreements happen all the time. If the parties agree to it, who are you as the judge to jump in and say, I don't think that agreement is fair? Actually, if I was running against the judge, I would actually argue the opposite. I would be like, man, they aren't tough on crime. This person, I don't know. They gave this poor woman, who in my eyes was damn near a hero, they gave her 4 years for doing something that, do you know how many people this ex-cop who retired as a cop, you know how many people he probably screwed over literally as a police officer? Like, man, I don't know. I mean, hey, nobody like people who commit those types of crimes. Inmates don't. Like, I don't know why the judge is like, I mean, I get it. She committed a crime, but this one, for me, hey, I couldn't be on her jury because she gonna go home that day because that's gonna be a hung jury. Shout out to everybody in the chat: Bernie, Pretty Eyes, Royster. I mean, I don't know. We could agree to disagree. What? I don't know. Does she have a GoFundMe? I don't know. She probably does have a GoFundMe. I did read that she was trying to start some type of nonprofit. I think, honestly, I'm gonna be honest. Like, she probably, with her conviction, probably can't operate a daycare business, but she give a damn about the kids. And daycares are terrible. Daycares, man, people be doing some crazy shit, but she clearly give a damn about the kids. I thought that story was interesting. Hey, I actually hope and wish the best for that woman because, hey, I think that, she was just, that's a lot of stress, man. She was under a lot of stress. Like, yeah, and I don't know. I that's a tough one for me. I don't know if I'm on the jury, if I'm going to necessarily say she's guilty. The other thing is, like, I don't know, like, real talk, as a prosecutor, if you're a prosecutor and you got this lady as a potential defendant, and then you got her husband, real talk, I actually may be willing to just like, yo, you know what? We're going to give her some lesser included charge. I mean, I would probably give her a deal better than 2 years. Honestly, that's just me. But y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. If she has a GoFundMe, I'm sure she's going to raise a lot of money because she had a lot of supporters. People putting money on her books while she was in custody and the whole nine. Now, this one is a little bit interesting because it's more on the fraud side of the game. And I'm going to be honest, candor, someone sent me this video. I did not watch the entire video, so I don't know all the nuances of the news story, but we're going to talk about somebody who finessed $100 million from a nonprofit. Nonprofits always are used as mechanisms to scam and steal, unfortunately. Let's dive in and see what's going on with this story.
Leo Gavoni was found liable for more than $100 million in missing money. Now he's behind bars. Tonight, 8 on Your Side takes a closer look at the other person arrested in this massive fraud case, the man accused of cooking the books. Good evening, I'm Keith Case.
And I'm Stacey Scheibel. Thank you for joining us. Our investigation over the last year and a half has focused on the man who founded that local nonprofit. But federal investigators say he was not the only one who embezzled millions.
The prosecutors say Gavoni's longtime accountant, John Whittick, helped build their scheme.
Of course, it's the accountant. The accountant, are we shocked? If someone is stealing from a corporation, the first person you should probably look at is the accountant. The accountant, then the chief executive officer.
Convincing disabled victims that their trust fund money was safe. 8 on Your Side.
Oh, we did this story. I remember this. Oh, man, this is crazy. Okay, I remember this story. We did this story. Now we get a chance to look at the actual outcome. This is actually interesting. What's going on? So what's up, Harley? We actually did this story. All right, so I remember this story perfectly. It was actually a nonprofit. The nonprofit was, as soon as he said what it was, it jumped into my head. It was a nonprofit organization, and this nonprofit was designed to take money from persons who were cognitive, had developmental disabilities due to some type of accident. The story that we covered, it was a guy and his daughter. His daughter was involved in some type of accident where she was disabled because of that accident. He got a light amount of money. I want to say it was $100,000 or $200,000. It was not enough to account for a lifetime of cost. The dad, I remember this perfectly. The dad wanted to do something with the money where he could provide for his daughter in the long term. So he wasn't like super financially savvy. So he took the $200,000 or whatever it was that they got, and he invested it in this nonprofit. And this nonprofit specialized in taking money that persons who had accidents and their children became disabled, they would take that money, presumably put it in a trust, and then actually use that money to pay for the children and help them through the life through their lifetime, give them what they need with the interest that was earned from that trust. Then his dad found out that a lot of the money went missing, a lot of the money got stolen, and this is the subsequent tale of what was going on. They even were trying to do interviews and everything, but we actually covered this story before. I may have to do another video. This is absolutely terrible because that nonprofit preyed on families' pain. If you had your child, it's disabled because of an accident, and they get some settlement, you don't know what to do with it. You're giving it to this nonprofit with the hopes that they'll be able to take care of your loved one during the course of their life, and these guys just fucking stole the money. That's absolutely terrible. But I remember this completely. Real quick, there's a young attorney in Mississippi that ran off with $450K from an estate he was handling. He's on the run now. He can't be found. Yeah, send me the link to it. $450K, that's too low to be stealing. $450K, that's a lot low. That's low. All right, let's go and finish watching this. But I actually did I'll link it. I'll link the story, the original story I did. But as soon as they said it, it came into memory.
Nonprofit. But federal investigators say he was not the only one who embezzled millions.
Prosecutors say Gavoni's longtime accountant, John Wittick, helped build their scheme, convincing disabled victims that their trust fund money was safe. 8 on your side investigator Brittany Muller joining us now live with some new information about this accountant.
Keith, Stacey, good evening. According to John Wittick's LinkedIn, he's an Army vet, a college graduate, and a certified accountant. And federal prosecutors say he was complicit in the massive fraud scheme hand in hand with Leo Gavoni. Federal prosecutors.
This is fucked up. Now all those, they got all the money. And typically in crimes like this, if you lucky, you may be able to recover 30 cents on the dollar. So now all of these children and families who have to care for these children, who put their settlement money from the lawsuits from the accident that resulted in their kids' injury in this damn company, now they probably ain't gonna have shit. They're gonna have to work for the rest of their life. And I don't know. This is absolutely terrible. These guys are absolutely terrible.
Say Leo Gavoni took millions from disabled people and their families while he lived a lavish life, complete with luxury boxes at Tampa Bay Buccaneers games
to win the Kentucky Derby
and the Kentucky Derby, property in 3 states, even a private jet for his personal use. The 15-count federal indictment released on Monday alleges that Gavoni used his now bankrupt nonprofit, the Center for Special Needs Trust Administration.
That's fucked up, bro. You stealing from families who got kids with special needs that were the result of accidents and stealing their money that was negotiated for them to take care of their kids. Like, that dude gonna rot, bro. That's absolutely terrible.
Like a $100 million piggy bank. But prosecutors say Gavoni had help draining the trust accounts of hundreds, if not thousands, of disabled victims. When FBI agents took Gavoni into custody, they also scooped up Gavoni's longtime accountant, John Wittick.
Gavoni and Wittick co-founded Fiduciary Tax and Accounting Services back in 2014. They had been operating out of this property in Safety Harbor. But I'm told as of a few months ago, they sold this property. So where is that money?
Prosecutors have already ordered the seizure of 13 other properties in Florida, Ohio, and Kentucky, totaling to at least $88 million.
All of that money gone. Now, actually, because I haven't watched this, someone sent me this, so I didn't watch it. Luckily, we covered this before, so I remembered it. I want to know how much are they going to be able to recoup once they seize assets and freeze bank accounts. The fact that some of it is tied up in property is generally a good thing. They could always sell that property better than if it was just cash, because that shit goes missing.
Properties allegedly purchased using money taken from Center for Special Needs clients. That money that Wittick was supposed to help safeguard. But prosecutors say that's not what happened.
Whitetech's job was to protect the trust beneficiaries by providing accurate financial statements to them on a routine basis. He was supposed to keep track of their money. Instead, he joined the fraud scheme and misled the victims.
Interim U.S. Attorney Greg Kehoe says Wittick signed off on statements that told Center clients their money was safe.
Real quick, a lot of people, especially finance bros on YouTube, they always talk about put your money in a trust. You should put your money in a trust. Trust is only good if you can trust the people who are handling your trust, hence the word trust. If you cannot, everyone's like, oh, if you should have your life insurance policy go to a trust and then name the trust the beneficiary of your insurance policy so it could give the kids a payout. You just making an assumption that the people running your trust is not going to screw you over. I mean, I don't know. It's all gamesmanship out of here, and putting it in a trust doesn't necessarily guarantee anything.
Gavoni and Whitetech sent annual false accounting statements to their victims, promising that their money was in investments when in reality their money was already in Gavoni and Whitetech's pockets and their businesses.
FBI investigators say Wittick also helped Gavoni create his elaborate network of businesses.
Mr. Gavoni allegedly set up over 100 shell companies.
Agents say Wittick and Gavoni passed off some of those businesses as investments. But meanwhile, their victims never saw a penny and struggled to survive.
What does this mean for Abby and all of the victims? What does it mean for your family? You've been fighting this fight for over a decade.
Oh, it just means so much. I mean, just to know that we found justice once and for all is, after 10 years of fighting this, is just absolutely incredible. I just feel so much relief, and I'm so glad that the right thing was finally done.
John Wittick was released on a $500,000 secured bond. Leo Gavoni remains behind bars at the Pinellas County Jail. Gavoni's next court date is this Thursday for a detention hearing. Aiding her side will be there.
And some may be wondering, why did the judge allow Wittick to post bond and not Gavoni?
Well, there could be any number of reasons, including the fact that he could be viewed as a lower flight risk or somehow less responsible for some of the acts listed in the indictment than Gavoni. This is something we'll continue to investigate in the coming weeks.
I might have to take a look at that indictment. That's absolutely terrible. They should be thrown under the jail, right along with the police officer from the first story. I have no sympathy from either of them, because those are both stories about people who are taking advantage of the most vulnerable of our population. Children and persons with special needs and seniors are the most vulnerable of what we got here as a society, and they need to be protected. So, hopefully those guys get everything that's absolutely coming to them. Damn, that story terrible. I hope they can work something out. Now, this is an interesting story. I don't know if I ever told y'all a story, but plenty of people actually spend time in custody over administrative mistakes. I know this happened for certain because I remember my father spent time in custody over an administrative mistake. I don't know if I told this story before, but I know he's not gonna mind me telling this story. But my father is a big Second Amendment guy, and where he stayed at is very rural. He had a friend who had car troubles, and at the time, this was before he retired. He would be on the road driving his big rigs, so he's gone for days, weeks at a time. One of his friends had car trouble and parked the car in his yard because when their car had issues, they happened to be near his house. Of course, he didn't mind. He comes home, he sees their cars there, like, oh, they're having car trouble, whatever. He talks to the friend, he figures it out. One day he's at the house and a tow truck is on his property and the tow truck is hooking up the car. Now, in this rural area, it's actually not uncommon for people to go onto your property and just take your shit. They'll tow your trailer off, take it. And so, when my father sees this guy outside, he asks, like, hey, what are you doing here? And the guy's like, go in the house, old man, mind your damn business or something. He said some shit that was slick. So my father, what he does is he comes out the house with his rifle. Now, he doesn't point his rifle at the guy. He just tells the guy, I think you need to get off my property. He shoots around in the air. The guy hops in his truck, hauls ass, gets out of there, right? That happened. I remember he had to go to court for it. I think if I didn't put him in contact with an attorney, somehow he got an attorney, but I knew it was going to be fine because I was like, yo, you on your property. You didn't point it at him. You shot it in the air. Like, the further you go down south, the more cool shit like that is. Nobody really cared. So I kind of figured it was going to be a non-issue. His attorney go to court. The charges are dropped. It's a done deal. Months go by. I'm down there visiting him, and everybody in the town knows my pops. He's introducing me to the sheriff, and the sheriff kind of pulls him aside and has a conversation with him. And my dad's like, what? He had an outstanding warrant. And he actually had to go into custody. And I felt terrible because this was like a rural area where like it ain't no night court or no weekend court. If you get locked up on Saturday, you're gonna be there until Monday because nobody's there to give you a first appearance. And it was one of those situations. He ends up getting out Monday morning, but he's pretty much spent 2 days in custody, which is a whole nother story that was hilarious. But on that Monday, he gets out, he retains an attorney. Another attorney works it out, and the clerks failed to properly do the paperwork, hence the reason that a warrant was issued for his arrest, and it was just an absolute shit show. So I say that to say that it happens all the time that people go into custody for things that are administrative errors. It's just something that happened. Nah, it's just water, man. It's no victory punch at basic training to keep our electrolytes up. Yeah, they used to say some weird myths about that punch, or they could have been truths. I don't know. All right, let's check out this next story of an administrative error that was pretty terrible.
A civil trial date is set now for the man who says he was held in jail for months because of a mistake.
And my pops was in custody for a couple days. This dude said he was held in custody for months. Months to me, it says man sues for $5 million after typo in last name causes him to be jailed for months on sex crimes. Think about that. You not only are you jailed for months because of a typo, but you're in custody for the worst type of crimes that you could probably be in custody before, where everybody want to probably get at you. That's actually crazy.
Held in jail for months because of a mistake over one letter in his last name. Last fall, Fox 13 Investigates told you about Anthony Robertson, who was mistaken for Anthony Roberson, a man sitting in 201 Poplar with several rape charges and a bond over $1 million. Let's go to Fox 13 investigative reporter Kayla Solomon. She's live at 201 Poplar tonight. So, Kayla, this lawsuit is worth millions, you've learned.
Yeah, Daryl, and although it was filed months ago, as recently as this week, there have been new filings. Now, the biggest is attorneys for Anthony Robertson are asking the county to turn over documents that have to do with those court hearings, as well as his time spent in the Shelby County Jail. But in response, Shelby County is saying since technically that record was expunged, a judge would have to order them to turn over the documents. But we now have an amended lawsuit that gives a clearer timeline of exactly how Robertson ended up in custody.
This shit is crazy, y'all.
All I could remember saying was, no, sir, y'all got to have the wrong person. That's not me.
That's Anthony Robertson when he met with Fox 13 last year. He was still dealing with the trauma, held in jail at 201 Poplar for 5 months for crimes
5 goddamn months
he did not commit.
It was just like detrimental. Like it was sad. Like every day I got up, every day expected to lose my life in there on some charges that had absolutely nothing to do with me.
Since then, a lawsuit was filed against Shelby County and his former public defender. Fox 13.
Damn, they even got the public defender. I agree, though. Stuff like this is stuff that, as an attorney, it's your job to handle. Even if someone paid you, if you aren't a public defender. I've had cases where there were administrative errors, and I made it my business to rectify those errors because that's just what my job is, you know. So I do agree that the attorney has some responsibility here if he had an attorney who didn't look into this. Now, clients going to tell you all kinds of stuff. It's not me, it's somebody else. And a lot of people aren't going to believe them because people lie all the time. But you do have to take some efforts and do due diligence to look into it. And I honestly think it should be more than job. If you make an administrative error that causes someone to be in custody, like real talk, whoever made that error should go sit their ass down for a couple nights. I mean, like, this guy was in jail for 5 fucking months. Is crazy.
13 Investigates obtained an amended version of that lawsuit that gives a clearer timeline of how Robertson was taken into custody. It started in October 2023 when Anthony Robertson was identified as a suspect for multiple sexual assaults. A warrant was issued for him, and he was taken into custody by October 29th, 2023. Despite remaining in custody, a separate warrant was then issued for Anthony Robertson, who was living in Ohio at the time, in February 2024. 4 months later, he was extradited from Ohio to Shelby County in March, and days later, by March 6th, it says, Robertson began to experience the effects of his diminishing health, as well as stigmas and or fears associated with being charged with aggravated rape and especially aggravated kidnapping, including extortion in exchange for providing for his safety while incarcerated.
That's crazy. So this dude, that's crazy. Including extortion in exchange for providing for his safety while incarcerated. So this dude, I don't know, they could have been, he had to pay for security or, there's no telling what this dude went through for 5 months in jail as on some trumped up charges because someone added a T to a last name that wasn't his. Like, he could have been assaulted. Like, I hope all of those things didn't happen, but this is absolutely a travesty. Honestly, he should be at 5 months. He should be asking for way fucking more than $5 million.
Robertson remained in custody until July 4th when his attorney and a judge admitted he was the wrong defendant. The lawsuit says that's also when Robertson was actually provided on the indictment sheet by said ADA, but was inaccurately recorded in the Shelby County Criminal Court clerk's file, which allegedly led to the issue of a warrant and subsequent arrest of plaintiff as the wrong person, and confirmed that plaintiff was released from custody on July 4th, 2024 at 8:30 p.m. Now, Robertson and his attorneys are asking for $5 million in return. That trial date set for next summer. Daryl?
It is Fox 13's Kayla Solomon live in downtown.
He is going to get all of that. I just can't see, like, you have 5 months in custody because of a mistake, an administrative error, and you asking for $5 million. Bro should probably be asking for 10. I don't know. They may have a cap on the amount of punitive damage that could be given. They're going to get a special tax treatment because they're punitive damages and aren't damages related to lost wages. That's absolutely terrible. I hope 5 months in jail. I hope he didn't have to deal with too much, but you in jail. You're going to have to deal with stupid shit. But damn, that's terrible. So, yo, y'all let me know what should be the punishment. Like, if you could actually trace that mistake back, where this guy had to spend 5 months in jail due to a mistake, what should be the punishment for the person who committed that? Like, I get that, I don't know. Like, nothing probably is going to happen to them. They may get fired. I seriously doubt that they would get fired. They probably just go back to business as usual. But I'm not necessarily. If you making a mistake where someone has to go into custody, like, you need to go sit down for 10% of that. If he did five months, okay, you gotta go do 10% of that, because that's fucked up to make a mistake when you know how important it is to be accurate on your job. Because real talk, life and death are an issue. But yo, that's it for the stories we got tonight. I'm gonna jump out of here because y'all see I'm yawning and everything. My eyes getting heavy. But y'all let me know what y'all think. I think in story number 1, the woman who shot her retired police officer husband after what he did and what he was convicted of, now turning in a life sentence. I'm not saying she did not commit a crime. I'm just saying that if I were a juror, it would be hard for me to find her guilty. If I were the judge, I would have accepted the agreed upon plea for a 2-year sentence as opposed to increasing it to 4. Story number 2 was equally as bad. 2 individuals, a CEO and an accountant, finessing disabled children out of this settlement money that was there to take care of them for their entire life. I actually might go through that one through the indictment since we talked about it before. I'll link the original video that I covered that topic in to this video. So if anybody want to watch it, they can go back. And of course, our last story that we talked about, all of this shit is kind of crazy. Y'all let me know what y'all think about these topics in the comments. And as always, y'all have a good night. Be safe, be blessed. And I appreciate y'all. Grateful. Thank y'all for joining in. Y'all, I appreciate it. Peace.